What the hell is Saw Sports or whatever that last call was talking about? What the hell is that?
Guys are from Free Love, man.
So I understand that Davey Arnott has not done enough, at least for me, to solidify him being the manager for the Houston Dynamo next season. So I'm ready to go ahead and start looking into a new manager. With that being said, man, these are some guys that I think personally can come in and help rebuild the Dynamo and kind of re-solidify a culture. Something that I think the Dynamo hasn't had since Dominic Kinnear. For people that don't know, Dominic Kinnear was the first coach of the Houston Dynamo. Obviously won in their first 2 years, won back-to-back MLS Cups, and kind of have been able to stay within the playoff discussion majority of his stint as the manager of the Houston Dynamo. Then we got Owen Coyle, and then of course we had now Wilmer Cabrera, who I think was kind of getting something going with his culture and his philosophy, but because of the way this season ended was going, I just think that was the reason why they had to go ahead and cut him loose. The thing is with me, man, with the rebuild, I think we're gonna have to be very patient with the way it goes. So I mean, this is gonna have to be a manager that the team sticks with through the bad times, and hopefully that it leads to some very promising and good periods for the Dynamo. But it's going to be starting off with that rebuild, and it's obviously also consisting of selling some certain players to bring in some revenue. We're also asking for the ownership to go ahead and open up their checkbooks and go ahead and bring in some money so we can either fully start developing the youth academy, which I'm not gonna take this with a full enthusiasm. But James Harden, when he was interviewed during rivalry weekend, one of the things he did say was that he wants to see the academy systems improve here in the U.S. So I'm hoping that maybe James Harden can go and bring in some influence into the academy system, since that is something that he did mention in an interview once. But obviously the big two that I need to talk about is Brenner and Oscar De La Hoya. These guys need to start putting in some money if they want their investment to start giving them some good revenue and some championships. So that's something. So ownership needs to step up, but as well we need to bring a manager in that knows the MLS, that is familiar how the MLS works. This is the reason why a lot of foreign managers aren't able to do well in the MLS. Is just because of the fact that it's a lot different here. There's a salary cap, there's designated players, there's international allocation money, there's general allocation money. So there's a lot of things. It's really complicated the way the MLS is when it comes to just the way how they run things. So international managers tend to struggle because obviously you are limited with your resources unless you're Atlanta United or LAFC or the LA Galaxy, who have ownership that go ahead and put out money to bring in talent. But I think with these guys that I'm mentioning in this video, I think will be some good quality guys that could come in and build the culture. But like I said, man, you're gonna have to be very patient with what they're trying to build, because it's not gonna be over one season that this works. It's gonna be a good period of time. It's gonna be a long, strenuous process. But I think at the end of it all, I think could lead to some very strong, promising years for the Houston Dynamo for the future. So the first manager I'm going to talk about is Anton Razov, assistant manager at LAFC. Now, the reason why I'm picking him is, one, Bob Bradley has proven to be one of the top coaches here in the MLS, not only with LAFC, but obviously has had prior stints with the MLS as well, and as well has been the U.S. national team coach, was a national team coach for Egypt. So he has a good understanding of international and looking at talent. And I mean, he did a lot of great moves with the expansion of LAFC, bringing in Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi. So it helps also that the fact that the ownership group of LAFC has been very supportive and to bring in this talent to make LAFC one of the strongest clubs we have ever seen in the MLS's history, and are honestly heavy favorites to, if not have already won the Supporters Shield, which is the best team in the regular season. And honestly, man, if they end up winning the MLS Cup, this just solidifies them as the greatest team the MLS has ever seen, and that is saying a lot, especially with such a young team. But with LAFC being so young still and being part of one of the biggest rivalries already, mind you, we have some bigger rivalries like Seattle and Portland, and plenty of more well-established rivalries. But the fact that we're talking about LAFC versus LA Galaxy more than them just shows that LAFC is just on the right track. So I like the idea of bringing somebody in from that culture to come in and kind of implement that with the Houston Dynamo. And that's why I like Anton Razov. I think because of what he has kind of been around now, I feel like could come in and kind of share that culture in with the Houston Dynamo. So that's the reason why I like Anton Razov. The next manager I'm going to talk about is Pat Noonan, who's currently the assistant manager for the Philadelphia Union. Obviously, he's with Philadelphia currently right now, who's on top of the Eastern Conference, and they're doing really well. Could also honestly make a push for the MLS Cup as well. What I like about him is not only is he part of helping out with that Philadelphia Union culture, but he was also part of Bruce Arena's coaching tree. And for those who don't know who Bruce Arena is, he's coached with DC United, won trophies there. He was the manager of LAFC, won trophies there. He's currently now with New England Revolution, hoping to rebuild that team, which is one of the things that Bruce Arena is really well known for, is being able to rebuild teams and make them contenders and win championships. He's also been the U.S. manager many times already. But like I said, Bruce Arena just knows the MLS, and I think Pat Noonan, similar to Anton Razov, I think is another guy that has learned enough with Bruce Arena that can go ahead and eventually now go and be the manager of his own club and hopefully kind of take what he's learned from Bruce Arena and apply it and use his own style. So I think that that's another thing to take a risk on this guy. I think will be well worth it. And like I said, man, if we're going through the route of just being patient and letting the process work, I think Pat Noonan would be a good addition for the Houston Dynamo as a manager. So the next manager I'm going to be discussing is actually one from a different spectrum. Still a coach here in the U.S., but in a different level. And that is Seth Sinovic of the University of Maryland. He's been with them for a very long time. He's a 3-time national champion in 05, 08, and 2018. He's a 9-time ACC champion. And he's just been able to bring in some amazing talent to the MLS. Some of his notable players that I saw and just had to highlight is current U.S. goalkeeper Zach Steffen, ESPN announcer, analyst Taylor Twellman, who has also played for the U.S. national team, Sporting KC player Graham Zusi, who's also been looked up by the U.S. national team plenty of times, and current Dynamo player AJ De La Garza, who also plays for Guam's national team. The guy is just really good with finding talent, especially young talent, and knows the college soccer world, and I think that could be very beneficial when it comes to draft. Even though, like I said, I'm not personally a fan of the MLS draft, or if you guys don't know now you know I don't like the MLS draft at all. But if you have somebody that's been in there, seen the talent that's in there, can find some good, solid talent and bring them in, and guys that he will utilize. Because the one thing that Sasha that I like is that he uses youth players. I mean, he has to because it's college. So he's using these guys. He can see their potential. I think that this guy just knows how to build a winning culture. And I think if you want to be patient and build something with, I think this is the guy to go for. So that is the reason why I like Sasha. And I think this is a little bit different from what I normally like, because I'm just don't really care too much about college soccer. Personally, the reason why I don't like college soccer is because the years that you should be playing for the first team, or at least being looked into the first team, is when you're, 16 and in 22. That's where you should start getting more looks with the first team. So when you're 23 years old and you're still fighting to get in that starting 11, it's kind of like you're way behind the curve. But with a guy that kind of knows some of the players and he'll use them, I think this is a smart move for the Dynamo to go ahead and bring him in and pay whatever you have to bring this guy in. This is somebody that I feel you will have to risk it all to bring in, and I do like Sasha for that reason. Alright, staying with the utilization of youth talent spectrum, the next one I'm talking about is Joe Wileniak with New York Red Bulls 2, which is the the minor league affiliate to New York Red Bulls. So this guy has worked with all the youth talent that the New York Red Bulls have. So if you kind of think about it, Tyler Adams, who currently plays for Red Bull Leipzig in the Bundesliga, and a lot of the exciting young players with the New York Red Bulls. Red Bulls has just been a good team to find young talent, and this guy is one of the reasons why they're able to come into the MLS and transition well. So, and I mean, in his second year as the New York Red Bulls 2 manager, he ended up winning the 2016 USL Championship, as well as winning the regular season award for the best team in the USL. I just think with this guy knowing how to utilize youth talent, once again, that's the reason why I like this, is because he plays with young talent. I think this would be a great addition for the Houston Dynamo. Now, for number 1, and I think honestly this is the guy the Dynamo need to put everything they can in to bring in, is Tab Ramos. Tab Ramos is currently the U20 U.S. Men's National Team coach. I think that this is the guy that we got to go for. He uses youth talent. If you guys have noticed, I'm constantly talking about youth talent, and the reason why is because those are the guys that we need to bring in. If they're able to perform and live up to expectations, we can either keep the guys that we really want, and if there's another certain teams in Europe that are interested in them, we go ahead and sell them and use that money to bring in more talent. This is just the best way to do it when it comes to currently right now with the MLS. To be honest, man, the MLS is just that stepping stone for a lot of players. A lot of them see them as if they perform well here, they can go in and play in Europe where they can get the big money. So I think that this is the opportunity that we have to do. We need a guy that can come in and bring in the youth academy, bring it up, and start using the crap out of it and flourish from it. So Tab Ramos, man, I mean, you see what the U20 team has been able to do in recent years, and I think it just makes sense to bring him in. Like I said, man, he just knows how to bring in and utilize his youth, and I think that's a very important thing, and that's the reason why I would actually, this would be my number 1 choice overall for the manager of the Houston Dynamo. But like I said, man, with all these managers, it's gonna be about being patient with them. So it's not gonna be in 2 years we're gonna go ahead and start competing for the MLS Cup. It's gonna be, let's wait things out, and by year 5, hopefully we should at least be a competitive team. But you gotta be patient with the way this goes. But a lot of these guys could come in, bring in some winning culture philosophies, and make the Dynamo a better team. Now, this is not my last one. I actually have 2 bonus managers that I would like to mention. I don't think they're going to be very likely candidates, but I just think it'd be a very interesting thing to bring in if we go ahead and do so. So my first manager for the bonus is actually Thierry Henry. For those who don't know who Thierry Henry is, he's a World Cup champion. He played for France. He's played for Barcelona, Arsenal. Has been an assistant manager for the Belgium national team. Was the manager for Monaco in France, but he did get fired. And the reason why I like Thierry Henry is because he does have MLS experience. He did play for the New York Red Bulls. He knows how the league works. Maybe a way back, but he knows how the league is structured. He understands it. And I think that he would be somebody that could come in and help utilize youth talent, because he is a big guy on youth as well, and just help the team. And like I said, man, this is something that you just got to help and be patient and wait it out. But I think Thierry Henry does 2 things for you. One, I think you bring in a manager that can help utilize your youth players and help expand your youth academy system. And 2, he's a big name player. He's a legend. It's going to bring people to the game just to see Thierry Henry. So I think that this would be an interesting addition. And let's go ahead and go into the second bonus manager candidate that I have for y'all. So the second bonus manager that I have for y'all is the special one, Jose Mourinho. For those of you who do not know who he is, which is probably just you don't watch soccer at all, this man, wherever he goes, he wins championships. He wins some trophy wherever he goes. He's managed Chelsea. He's managed Manchester United. He's managed Inter Milan. He's managed Real Madrid. He's managed Porto. He actually got Porto to win the Champions League. He's won 3 Champions League titles with 3 different clubs. The man just knows how to win, and I think that this guy is one of the more smarter defensive-minded managers, though honestly his strategy is always parking the bus. and he's very controversial. I think he'll bring a lot of people to the Dynamo games, especially just because he's a big name player. He's very vocal. He speaks his mind, and he has mentioned before that he would be interested to come in and take on the challenge of the MLS. So the thing is with me that he does make a lot of questionable decisions where as far as transfers goes. He does bring in players, but he doesn't use them sometimes. He doesn't. I don't think he's particularly fond of the youth academy. But I mean, Jose Mourinho is just one of those guys that I think is very smart. He knows the game very well, and I think that he could be at least give you some winning years before things start getting way too controversial and he becomes too much of a pain in the head, and then you have to move on forward. But I think that it would be a very interesting one to bring in, just because people are going to be talking about the Houston Dynamo a lot, just because of the fact we have Jose Mourinho. So that is your second bonus manager. So those are 5 guys that I think, as well as I guess technically 7 because of the bonus, but those are the guys that I think personally could come in and help rebuild the culture of the Dynamo and start bringing back that culture of winning, something that we haven't seen since, like I said, Dominic Kinnear. So I just think we need guys that can understand utilizing the youth, understanding the MLS draft, guys that can go in and bring in some talent, overseas talent. I mean, like you can see LAFC is able to do with bringing in Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi, just guys that know how to build a team and can help win games. And I think all these guys can really honestly do it for you. But I mean, it's just on ownership, man. What is ownership? Is ownership going to let Matt Jordan go out there and do his job and bring in a coach that can help you win? Maybe not right now, but someone that's going to help you win eventually. And I think that we have an untapped market with the insane amount of youth talent that is here in Houston, not only in Houston but in Texas, in the Texas surrounding area in general. And I think it's time that we have somebody that can understand that and build that youth academy, and make this team really something special. So with all that being said, man, that's all I got for y'all. If you have any managers that you think that would be interesting to bring in, go ahead and drop it in the description. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to Sauce Sports TV. Chucking up a deuce, man. Y'all stay saucy.